The king of the transfer portal strikes again.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We are also brought to you by Gametime. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Forgive me for being hoarse. Your boy is under the weather. That's what happens when people who are sick don't disclose that and then hang out with people pretending they're not sick. Your boy's sick now. But either way, I'm going to soldier through and give you guys the best episode I could give you because Coach Prime is making moves in the portal again. And it's not a substantial move. It's not going to move the needle by any means, but it's a depth play. And when you look at Colorado last year, a lot of what they struggled with outside of physicality, outside of just trench play in general, just tackling in general, they lacked depth. So they were constantly throwing guys out there who either A, were not 100% that needed to play just out of necessity, or B, they just needed to play because they had no one else that they could turn to where they'd be like, okay, this isn't going to be an utter disaster. That's just, we're being frank right here. That's me, Kevin Borba, being frank. Colorado needed depth. And so they go out and add a transfer portal safety by the name of Ian Bussey from Oregon State. He goes by 100-yard landlord, which I love the nickname. In terms of what he brings to the table, not a lot of experience, right? At least on the field. He's a redshirt senior, graduate student, 219 pounds. Didn't play last year, but he appeared in 5 games over the past 3 years for Oregon State. He spent a couple seasons at Trinity Valley Community College in Texas, where he had 78 tackles, 2 picks, 6 pass breakups, and 6 tackles for a loss. And so he obviously isn't going to be pushing for a starting role, right? But he's someone that you could throw on special teams. He's someone where, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit, Colorado has some injuries in the secondary, or at least it appears they do. So he's someone that at worst case scenario, they could throw out there for a few plays and be like, hey, we need you to do this. Hey, we need you to do that. And also maybe he just offers a little bit of diversity to this room because Colorado has a brand new secondary. And I think a lot of people overlooked sort of this haul in the secondary. By the way, he's 6 feet tall. I wanted to get that out there. So he's not the biggest guy, doesn't have a lot of numbers to his name, but he brings depth. He brings age and experience. He's got some leadership qualities, and obviously he's transferring to the Big 12 where he may have an opportunity to make a name for himself. So let's look at this secondary and talk about what's new, what's different, and what's returning. So what's new, or I guess kind of new, Trevor Woods is a full-on linebacker now. He weighs well over 200 pounds. So he's gotten a lot bigger and a lot stronger to help him adapt for that linebacker role. So he will be he'll be playing as a linebacker, excuse me. Whereas last year he was a safety that made quite a few plays for the Buffs. Then at corner, you have DJ McKinney from Oklahoma State. He's someone who I think was maybe one of the more underrated gets of the offseason for Colorado. He comes in right away, offers Big 12 experience, and is someone that could really play into raising his draft stock. Like he has a chance as a redshirt sophomore to sort of make a bigger name for himself and maybe get himself on the radar of NFL teams. Then Colton Hood from Auburn, who we talked about it with Zach Blackerby from Locked on Auburn, didn't play a lot, but he had a lot of potential as a recruit, as a 4-star recruit, chose Auburn over a lot of power programs, and now he's at Colorado where he will have a chance to sort of be in the rotation and he will have a chance to sort of, I guess, start eventually down the road because he's a redshirt freshman. So he's a long-term investment for Colorado. Then at safety, you have returning from last year, Cameron Craig, who I think he played well for Colorado this past year. He came over from Jackson State with Coach Prime. Whether or not he holds on to that job, TBD. I feel like he will, but this is a depth play. The new addition is a depth play for safety. So obviously they are not worried about safety, but they felt like, hey, we could use another guy here. They have Herman Smith, who transferred in as a senior, and then Adonis Forrest, who also transferred in as a senior. And then running alongside Cameron Craig is the son of Coach Prime, Shilo Sanders, who hard hitter, headache gang. We know everything that he's about. He's about making big hits, sacrificing his body, and he's going to talk some smack along the way. Whether it works or not all the time, depending on the situation. But we have seen a lot of great plays from Shilo Sanders. And then they brought in Savion Riley via Vanderbilt in Miami, who I think if there was a guy in the secondary group that could take a starting spot, it'd be him. Played a lot of quality snaps for both programs, and I'm really high on him. Then they have Travis Jay, who played a little bit of corner last year, and safety from Florida State. Preston Hodge, Liberty transfer, was one of the highest graded players in the PFF database and comes from Liberty. Or I don't remember if I said that now. I'm on so much medication, I don't remember what I said. But he comes in and he gives Colorado, him and DJ McKinney, the option to move Travis Hunter wherever they darn well please, because both of these guys are DB1s, right? They are both going to be the CB1s or they could be for whatever team they're on. And now Colorado has 3 corners that would probably be the best corner on any team in the country or most teams in the country. Then they have Ivan Yates, who is a redshirt senior, transferred in, brings a lot of experience behind Preston as a corner. I think he's going to be someone we see a lot of rotating in there. And then Hunter at nickel, and then Carter Stottmeyer. So what does this secondary look like to me? It looks like they have a mixture of youth, veteran presences, and it looks like they have a lot more talent and potential than last year's class. So really have to be pleased with what Deion Sanders, Robert Livingston are doing with the secondary. I do think that it's going to be one of those things where the secondary could end up sneaking up on people and being one of the stronger units in the Big 12 if all goes right. Okay, when we come back, we are going to be talking about Shiloh Sanders, a recent sort of update about him that I thought was interesting and could be something to monitor moving forward. But first, a word from our sponsors. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace in Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Use the app featured, list it, and customize your sport. And all you have to do is just look for whatever you want to do. They have last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy MLB tickets for every kind of event in your area. Plus, you could even see what your view would be from a seat. Me and my girlfriend, we're actually going to a Braves game this week, right? Made sure we got good seats by seeing where we were, what our view was, right? We don't want to have poor seats. We don't want to be stuck behind a weird stadium flaw or whatever. So we went to Gametime, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off our first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me a part of your daily routine, making me your first listen of the day. Make sure to like, subscribe, share this with a friend. My everydayers, you know who you are. You tune in every single day. You comment, you like, you share this with friends. I appreciate you greatly. Couldn't do this without you. Let's talk about Shilo Sanders. He's possibly injured, and it's funny because there was a report a while back. I don't remember by whom, but they said Shilo Sanders was injured, had surgery, right? And they were like, no, that's a lie. Like the Colorado can't denied. And then all of a sudden, Shilo Sanders is in a non-contact yellow jersey to start off fall camp, which has many people worried about his injury status. So Robert Livingston, the new defense coordinator, was asked about Shilo, and he didn't really answer it, but I think the answer was in the no answer, if you know what I mean. He says, and I quote, "It's above my pay grade. You're going to have to ask the head coach." Yeah, we're in a good spot there. So what does this tell me? Well, realistically, I think that they kind of, it means one of two things. One, they know Shilo Sanders is going on year 6 of college, right? This is his sixth fall camp. And obviously he's not that old. Me and him are the same age. I'm 24. He's 24. But we're not as young as those 18, 19-year-olds. We're not as spry. So maybe they're just trying to be safe. They know how, I won't say reckless he is with his body, but they know how free-spirited of a tackler he is. So maybe they're doing their best to keep him healthy as possible, because when they lost Shilo Sanders for that UCLA game, which it wasn't due to injury, it was due to a targeting call, that completely changed the complexity of the game, right? So without Shilo Sanders, that defense was a shell of itself. Now, the defense wasn't good to begin with, but losing their leading tackler, losing their vocal leader, and losing someone who plays with swagger, charisma, the vibes, like that was devastating for that team. And I don't want to say that was the main reason they lost, but it was certainly one of them. that they lost to UCLA because the offensive line was terrible that game too. But losing Shiloh Sanders for that targeting hit was a big one. But you know what else this could tell us, and this is me speculating here, and we'll find out more based off practice footage and sort of reports from around the team. Tells me that report, the initial report that they shot down and were like very up in arms about, may have not been too far off. And I think, let me see, I'm gonna try to find the report because it was quite a while ago, and I remember it was in May. So this is from the fellows over at Colorado on SI. They said that he was making, or he played in the spring game or whatever, but he did have surgery. So it says Shiloh Sanders made his first public appearance following extensive shoulder surgery that took place days after Colorado spring game. So I think he played in the spring game or was at least there, right? I don't remember exactly, but I remember this report comes out in May, and they're like, yeah, he was there for optics, but now he's hurt and he's having major surgery. So I don't know where who's right. I doubt anyone's reporting stuff just to report stuff. But if you ask me, do I think he's hurt? I don't think they bring in multiple safety transfers, like 4 of them, to sort of just add more depth. Like, that's obviously a main reason, but you bring in a guy like Savion Riley, who I think could start. Like, realistically, I think if there was, like I said earlier, if there was anyone who could take a spot, it'd be Savion Riley. At Vanderbilt this past season, this 6'2", 200-pound safety out of Georgia, 48 total tackles, and he was just a tackling machine for Vanderbilt. So he comes into a Colorado defense that should be slightly better, should put him in better positions. Plus, he gets to learn from Deion Sanders, Robert Livingston. The sky is the limit for this safety unit, but I do think that there is something to look out for with Shiloh Sanders. And Robert Livingston's response, he didn't do a terrible job of shutting down the motion, but he also didn't really, like, he didn't shut it down, right? He wasn't like, hey, Shiloh's fine. Because how would they know, right? Like, Colorado, for the most part, does close practices. And so it's one of those things where it's like, how would they know if Shiloh's injured or not? Like, people would be all over that, right? He's wears number 21 like his father. Like I said, he's a very outspoken fella. He likes to talk a lot. He's a leader on the defense. So I'm pretty sure that'd be one of the first things that the media notices. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see as week 1 approaches, because Colorado's first game is in about a month, right? August, I think it's 29th. It's a Thursday against Nebraska, North Dakota State, before they take on Nebraska. So look out for the Shiloh Sanders injury or possible injury. It's something to look out for. I do think that they've brought in necessary depth pieces to sort of support that position group if need be. But I did think it was interesting that he was in a yellow non-contact jersey. When we come back, we're going to be talking about where Colorado's strength of schedule ranks in the Big 12 and which matchups could give them trouble. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at eBay Motors. Let me tell you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. My everydayers, you know who you are. Make sure to comment below. Give me a shout. That way I can make sure you guys get the recognition you deserve for helping this show happen. Let's talk about strength of schedule. Colorado is in a new conference this year. Obviously, if you guys don't remember, let me give you a little refresher. Pac-12 has an opportunity. We're going to go like full on history lesson before we get to the 2024 season. I would say it was around 2012-ish to 2014, around there. Pac-12 has an opportunity to add Texas and Oklahoma. They don't take it, right? Texas and Oklahoma leave the SEC or leave the Big 12 for the SEC in 2021, or they announced it, right? So teams in the Big 12 are like, hey, we want to come. We want to join. We're like, please save us. This is a drowning ship. They were down to 8 members at the conference. as a conference, and then Pac-12 was like, no, we're good. We don't want to deal with religious affiliations. You're not academically inclined like there are programs and stuff like that. Sure, whatever. Well, push comes to shove, the Big 12 adds 4 Group of 5 programs, right? And then the Pac-12 loses USC and UCLA, and they are unable to not only secure a media rights deal, but they are unable to expand, which literally all they had to do was look in the direction of San Diego State and SMU, who would have joined for free. But hey, they didn't do that. And the Pac 12 is now dead. So RIP to the Pac 12. And the first program to leave outside of USC and UCLA, obviously, was Colorado. The Colorado Buffaloes, they got a nice little signing bonus for leaving the Pac 12 for the Big 12 first. They brought Utah, Arizona State with them. And now they're in the Big 12. Do I think the Big 12 was a better conference than the Pac 12 last year? No. The Pac 12 was by far, I think, the best conference in college football last year, to be honest. They went out on a high note, which just sucks that the conference is dead because would have loved to see what the future of the conference looked like. But nonetheless, Colorado in the Big 12 now. I would say the Pac 12 is more top heavy. You have programs like Oregon, Washington, USC. I'm sure I'm missing someone where they were consistently good. Stanford was in there for a while in the 2010s, where the Pac-12 was always top heavy, but the conference was always deep enough to where any team could beat anyone. Whereas the Big 12, anyone could beat everyone, but there's no like clear cut favorite. Like I would say right now, the clear cut favorite, quote unquote, is probably Utah. And I don't think if you surveyed 100 people that you would get 100 Utahs. Like in years past, you'd say who's the biggest brand of Big 12? They'd be like Texas. You'd say who's going to win the conference if you had to bet money? They'd say Oklahoma, right? They don't have that this year. So Colorado, new challenge, old conference that they were once in that they left the Pac-12. They left the Pac-12 from the Big 12, and now they're back in the Big 12, which is like a whole thing in and of itself. But let's talk about where their conference or where their strength of schedule ranks. According to USA Today, it ranks as the number 2 strength of schedule in the conference. They have home games against Baylor, Kansas State, Cincinnati, Utah, Oklahoma State, and then they have road games at UCF, at Arizona, at Texas Tech, at Kansas. So Colorado's, I think they have, how do I put this? I think that the start off the year, they go North Dakota State, which is a tricky game to open the year, but if you win that game, big win. You have Nebraska right after on the road. Tough game, but they have a freshman quarterback. So there's that. Then you go to Fort Collins, Colorado, to take on Colorado State and what is arguably one of the most slept on beefs in college football at this moment. So it's like they have a tougher start. Then they have Baylor come to town, and then they go to UCF. So realistically, best case scenario, they could go 5-0 to open the season, and they'd be ranked, and the buzz would be as strong as last year. They'd be like, "Hey, look, we're almost doubled our win total, or we almost doubled our win total from last year's first few games, right?" But then they play a bunch of ranked teams, and it gets really difficult. So, what is Colorado's worst case and best case scenario? Best case scenario, I think they win 9 or 10 games. Worst case scenario, I think they go 4-8, 5-7. Like the Big 12 is not nearly as deep as or is not nearly as good at the top as the Pac-12 was last year, but it's deep. Every team could be every team, and I'm not going to be shocked if there's a lot of upsets in the Big 12, and I wouldn't be shocked if a team like Colorado, it's October, and they're still in contention for the Big 12 title, just because that is how the Big 12 rolls, and the Big 12 will always roll like that. So I think that Colorado's strength of schedule is something to look out for. I do think if they struggle, that should be taken into account. But I do think if they have success, that should also be like hey, look what they did with a schedule this difficult, because the only other team in the conference with a tougher schedule than them is Arizona State. And Arizona State has road games at Texas Tech, which is tough, at Oklahoma State, at Kansas State, and at Arizona. So they get to play all the top teams and on the road, and they are still a recovering program, rebuilding program. So a lot of things to look out for this upcoming season. You guys comment below. What do you think Colorado's record will be? Is it 10-2? Is it 9-3? Whatever it is, you guys let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making sure I'm your first listen of the day, listening to me as I'm hoarse and sick. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow. This has been another great episode of Locked On Buffs.